Hey, welcome back to my channel. My name is Tatiana. I'm the owner of the Stationary Muse and a business coach and mentor for women wanting to start their very own stationery businesses. I'm so excited for today's video, you guys. We're going to be talking about one of my favorite topics, which is launching. And if you missed the other two videos in this series, definitely make sure you go check those out. They're very foundational when it comes to just the who, what, and why of your planner or your guided journal that you might be creating. And so make sure you go check out this video and this video so that you can get all of those suggestions for you. And then come back to this one because we are going to be talking all about some of my favorite ways to just have a successful launch, things that you should be doing maybe that you didn't think about. And so I'm really excited to share some of these secret tips with you. All right, so let's get into this. I have some notes over here because I don't want to get off topic, y'all. Maybe or may not know, I can really ramble a lot. So I want to make sure that I stay on with this. But the first couple of things I wanted to actually note are just a couple of general things. They're not even really part of the 5, but some things that are very important for me to mention. So the first thing, and this is a question I get asked all of the time, is how long should a launch be? And this is really going to vary from business to business, product to product, person to person, you know, just different things like that. But the main thing I always say is if you have never launched anything before, if your business is brand new, the longer the launch, the better. So typically I really would say about 2 months would be a really good time frame if you are a brand new business and you're really wanting to get your new product out there. You really want people to purchase your planner or your journal for this upcoming season. It's important to make sure you give people enough time to even know who you are even before you're starting to sell to them. And so if you aren't planning on launching anything within the next couple of months, you're in a really good boat because it gives you a chance to really sit down and plan out your launch to a T and really get it to a point where you're like, okay, I'm giving myself several weeks to really build some trust with this audience, get people to even know what my business is about, who I am, and most importantly, grow the relationship with them first so that when it is time for them to make this, when you are ready to make the sale, they'll know a lot more about you and they'll feel more comfortable with you. And I think that's just in general, if you compare this to any relationship you have in your life, the more you get to know people, the more comfortable you are with them to give up different things or do different things for them. And so it's kind of the same thing when it comes to your business. So as far as the time frame, I really would say even a month is good. 2 months is great. A month is pretty good as well, especially if you have a little bit of an audience established. And now there are some people like, you know, huge businesses, shoot, if you think about like Beyonce, for example, or things like that, where if you have like a diehard following in a community, you could literally drop something tomorrow with no notice and people would just support no matter what. And so that's definitely the goal you want to get to. But as you are growing and if you want to see the success of your products, you can't really treat it like Beyonce right now. You really have to be like, okay, let me go ahead and take my time and really grow and lead up to this launch. And so I actually work with a lot of my clients in the Inspire Blueprint and we talk about having a month-long launch and they kind of work through creating that and what that looks like. And so I think that is a really nice sweet spot, especially if you don't have a ton of time to spread it out. A month is a really good amount of time to get an email list built, to get your audience to know who you are, to educate about your product. And we're going to kind of talk about a couple of those things in there, but I wanted to make sure that I touched on time frame because it's important. And then another thing I also wanted to share as well is to set some goals for yourself. So anytime I get ready to sell anything, if I'm coming out with something new, whether that's with my business coaching business or if it's with the Stationary Muse, I always like to make sure that I have some goals that I'm reaching. So I'm sure you guys have heard of SMART goals before, something like that, just especially the part of it being measurable, because you really want to make sure that you have something that you can look at and be like, okay, this is the results. This is what I wanted to happen, you know, like how did I come out in the end? So it's important to sit down and set some goals. So if you're trying to figure out like, okay, how many people do you want to grow on your social media account? How many people do you want to have on your email list? How many planners do you want to sell? How much revenue do you want to make? Like all of these things are going to be really important. And so the more that you sit down and kind of really get in tune with those numbers, it just helps you to have kind of like a North Star that you're reaching for. And I know sometimes the numbers can be scary, believe me. For the first probably 3-ish years of my business, I was really scared to set goals because I didn't want to come up short. I didn't want to fail. But not only does it feel really good when you actually hit those numbers, first of all, like you feel really good, But even if you don't, it gives you something to kind of be like, okay, you know, this is where I kind of fell short. This is what I can work on. This is how I can show up better the next time, you know, like, let's get it. So either way, it's important to keep those numbers in mind, to have those goals in mind. And all in all, it's just a great way to run a business. This is how any bigger business would do this, and you really want to approach yours as such. Okay, so I actually have a part in my course about this. It's called the Evolve method. I'm not going to get into that too much, but I'm kind of picking some pieces from that, so you're getting like a little bit of an insider into the course that my clients work through. And it's called the Evolve method. Each of those letters kind of represents a different piece of the puzzle when it comes to launching. And so I really want to give you guys some really good tips from that method to help you. And one of the really huge ones, the really big ones, is to bring people behind the scenes, bring people along within this journey. So whether you just have this as an idea in your head right now, maybe you've been thinking about it for years, but you're starting to kind of make strides to make it happen, but you're starting to get things in. I know many of you have reached out to me and you've said that you've ordered some of the different equipment and tools and things that I've suggested on here. And I think that that's wonderful, but start documenting that process. Turn on your camera, you know, pick up your phone and document you opening up different things. Get your reaction, because all of these things, not only is it good for you to look back and see how far you've come, but it's also great for your audience to have an inside look at to just how important this is to you, just how much work you are putting in. And I remember last year when I was sharing the whole process of me coming out with my planner, I did it for those exact reasons. I wanted to be able to look back at it. I'm going to be looking at rewatching them again soon because I'm getting ready to relaunch in just a few weeks. And it just feels good to capture that, but bringing the audience along gives them this kind of like insider look that you wouldn't ordinarily see. And it's just a great way to get connected with your audience. And so behind the scenes can look, like I said, you know, as you're getting things in, as you're creating things for the first time, as you are outlining your plan of what you want to do. You know, maybe you hear back and you get a quote that wasn't what you thought, and so maybe you're having a little bit of a setback. Whatever the case may be, sharing those different pieces of the process just gives people a reason to you know, people are naturally nosy, people want to know, but it really gives people a reason to care about you and care about your business and what you have coming out. And it just builds up the anticipation because they feel like, oh, you know, like I'm going along this journey with you. So think about ways that you can bring your audience along in any way possible. Don't feel like it has to be perfect in order to share, and don't feel like it has to be the final product in order for this to be a launch strategy. Your launch strategy is not only you sharing the product, but it's also you getting your audience in there, getting them involved and things like that. And that actually gets me into the next step, or the next tip. So the next tip is you want to get your audience involved as much as possible. So you want to poll your audience, ask them questions, do surveys and different things like that, especially if you are not 100% sure on what you're doing, and maybe you want to get some ideas of maybe what people are looking for when it comes to like a journal or a planner in terms of the style or what's going to go in it or different things like that. Think about what are some things maybe you don't necessarily know. I sent out a survey about my planner to those that purchased it to just kind of get their feedback, see what they would love to see differently for the next one and things like that. I polled my audience on Instagram and did kind of like those little questions, and then they could pick one or the other for the option. This just gives you an insight to what people are thinking. It's quick, it's free, and it's just a great way to get your audience involved so they feel like they're part of the process. If you're trying to figure out what kind of packaging you want to use for your products, and maybe it's between like 2 box styles or 2 tissue paper colors or whatever the case is, ask your audience, like, what do you guys like? You know, like I'm kind of stuck between these 2 things. I would love your opinion. Anything that can get them involved is just another way to kind of peel back the layer on the relationship and show them that you really do value their opinion. And that's the other thing as well. Take the things that they're saying into consideration, because these are the people that are going to be purchasing your product. And so as much as we sometimes want to like take control and do everything ourselves and come up with everything ourselves, because I mean, at the end of the day, you are the creative behind the business. It's also important to remember that your customers matter, their opinions matter, their feedback is important. And so anytime you can take that and use that, run with it, use that to help you, because it's only going to make you more successful in the end when you are showing them like, hey, I care about what you guys think. Okay, so the next thing that I feel is really important is to grow your email list. I've said this in so many videos, time and time again. It is very important to have an email list. Whether you are on day 1 of your business or you are on day 5 million of your business, if you do not have an email list, you definitely want to get one. Things are constantly changing. The world is constantly changing, and there's just so many things that we cannot control. And so having an email list is just another kind of like an insurance policy. It's a way to make sure that, like, okay, hey, you know, I have these people here. This is my golden list of people that I know truly care about my brand. They care about my vision, this business, and everything like that. And great ways to get this email list to grow is to think about things besides a coupon code. And so I know that's a really easy way to kind of get an audience involved and to get them on your email list, and it is 100% wonderful to do. You know, you can have that as a pop-up on your website or something like that. But especially when you are thinking in terms of a launch strategy, think a little bit beyond this. And this is really great for those of us that have these paper products like a planner and a journal, because you know that your audience is interested in organization, bettering their lives, you know, making their routines better, and different things like that. And so it's really easy to come up with some type of freebie. Opt-in is another word for it. I love to do PDFs, and those are great. I've done a lot of them here on this channel. I'm sure many of you guys have signed up for them, and I try to make them as valuable as possible. I've done one about like how to create your ideal morning routine. I've done one on how to overcome fear. There's been so many at this point, you know, like helping you to find balance within life and business. There's so many different ones. And so really think about who your audience is. We're kind of going all the way back to the first video where I asked you, you know, who is this planner for? Who is this product for? Go back to that and really think about what are some areas in their life maybe where they need a little bit of assistance. And it doesn't necessarily have to be something directly from your planner or anything like that, but something that you know your audience is struggling with. And so if moms is like your number one thing, and maybe you're coming out with a planner specifically for moms, right? And you're trying to think of like, okay, what's a way I could grow my email list and kind of get these women to be interested? You know, maybe it might be like, you know, download this printable and you can get 5 tips on how to implement me time within your busy mom day, or, you know, something like that. Or and it doesn't have to be like a workbook. It could be like tips. So, you know, they could download it and it could be 5 tips to help you get organized to block schedule your day or something like that. There's so many different things you can do, and those are just the things I can think about literally off the top of my head. But just think about your audience very specifically. What is the pain point that they're having, and how you can speak to that by giving some of your expertise that you have. And as for me personally, this is something that's always very easy to do because I really just think about myself. My audience is very similar to who I am, and so I think about what are some of my struggles and different things that I know that I would like to see, and that always helps as well. But again, you can poll your audience, you know, ask them some different questions about, like, you know, would you like to see this in your life better? Would you like this, XYZ or ABC, you know, like whatever, kind of get their opinions, and that might give you some ideas on what your freebie could be. But just think about something that's really valuable to them. Yes, a coupon code is wonderful, but something that could really help someone get a quick win and really help them work towards bettering their life. That is really what's going to be the true golden ticket, if you will, to really connecting with them and making them want to see more of what you have to offer. Okay, so the next one is definitely going to be to give an up close and personal view. And so sometimes I'll get asked a lot of times, like, okay, you know, should I keep it a secret? Should I share everything? I don't want people to take my ideas and stuff like this. But the main thing I will say, and I always use this as an example, and it may be kind of obvious, but it may not, because sometimes I forget to do this, is to look at the things that you purchase and look at how the company rolls things out or how they launch when you get excited to the point where you're ready to go ahead and add it to your cart and purchase it. You know, when you go into it, are you kind of like blind? Are you not really sure what you're going to be getting? Or, you know, are they providing you with everything up front? You know, think about the experience you want your customers to have. And so I know for me personally with the Stationary Muse, I love to spoil my customers, and I also want them to know exactly what they are getting up front. And so you can even look, there is a whole trail of everything that I did. I did unboxing unboxings, I did flip throughs, I brought people behind the scenes, I showed the packaging, I told them all of those things and showed them everything under the sun so that there was no question at all of what was going to be happening when it came in terms of, you know, what was going to happen when they opened the planner up. And I did that because it was brand new. You know, it wasn't like, my planner's not the cheapest planner out there. So I want people to know what they're getting, and that was all part of the experience of the customer satisfaction point from me. And that was as much as I could do even before someone purchased. And so again, it really goes back to building up the trust. And if you are showing them all of the ins and outs and everything, if you're giving them an inside look before they even get it, it just really helps to create that trust and really build that relationship with them. A company that I absolutely love is Day Designer, and I get their planners on and off all the time since probably like 2014. And what I really love about what they do is not only do they have, it's a daily planner, but on their website you can actually download the daily page right off of their website. It's free and you can try it out for yourself. So that is another great example of how a company is basically giving you an opportunity to try something out long before you purchase it. And I loved that. And to me, it really built trust because I'm like, oh shoot, they let me print this out. I could print out like, I don't know how many months worth, which naturally most people would not do that, but it's enough for you to be like, okay, I think I want to give this planner a try. And so think of ways that you can really connect with them and really give them that insider look to your product to make them feel like they are right there with you, like they've already flipped through it themselves. They know how it feels. They know how much it weighs. They know what it's made out of. All of those things are going to be really important, and it's questions you are going to naturally get. So just think of when you're like, okay, what are some of the frequently asked questions people would ask me about this? Go ahead and nip a lot of those in the bud, and then that will help you, because customers be like, oh, I was going to ask that. Oh, okay, she already told me about that. And again, it just really helps to get people more excited about what you have. And another thing it does too is it just kind of helps people to know, like, specifically, is this for me or is it not? Because we all know not everyone is our customer, which is okay, but you don't ever want to leave any gray area for people to wonder. And so I got asked a lot last year, you know, can this planner be used for personal? And I was very specific to let people know up front, you can definitely do things for your personal life in there, but this planner is 100% catered towards businesses and entrepreneurship. And I was very upfront about that, you know. Now, if I wanted to just get a sale, I could have said like, oh yeah, you can use it for that. And then they would have been disappointed. So it's just important to just give all of that information up front because they're gonna ask. And then the last thing I wanted to share a little bit more is just even deeper, giving all of the details. And so for this specifically about purchasing, time frame and stuff like this, I think this is another thing that I get asked a lot of different questions, but I know this is for sure another one. And it's just like, how long is it gonna take for me to get my planner in the mail once I purchase it from you? You know, different things like that. If you have like a gift with purchase, you know, is that going to come with it? Is it going to come separately? Whatever the case might be, you really want to make sure that you are answering these questions ahead of time. And so whether you do a video where you sit down like this, whether you go live and you share the details, you have it on your website, on your product page, all of those things, you want to have it so that there's no confusion when it comes to the time to purchase. And so the biggest thing to really know is like, okay, is this planner going to be pre-order or is it going to be ready to ship? So just meaning like on the date that you choose to launch your planner, when people go on there, they place their order, is it going to be getting shipped out the next day or within like the next few days? Or are they purchasing this with the thought of knowing that, okay, I'm not going to get my planner for maybe another several weeks to a month or two because you're going to be doing different things with it. And so for me, I typically do pre-orders for this reason, because I've mentioned this before, my planners are handmade, so it is a process. And as much as I would love to ship them out the very next day, it's just not possible for me on my side. So I'm always very upfront with my timeline. I will straight up say, you know, 4 to 6 weeks and things like that. So I always want to guarantee that I get it to people within enough time for them to not only kind of prepare for the new year or prepare for, like, if it's dated, the season that's getting ready to come up. You want to make sure you have it to them by then, but at the same time, you don't want to overwhelm yourself with trying to have a timeline that is just not enough. And I definitely would say make it a lot longer than maybe what you might need. So then if anything happens, life happens, people get sick, things happen, things are back ordered, machines act like they don't want to work. Like there's so many different things that can go wrong. And so you would rather kind of give yourself that cushion to know like, okay, people are starting to order, but I have maybe 4 weeks to get this done, or, you know, whatever the case is. But also you want to set yourself up for success as well with doing as much preparation as you can. So as you're watching this, we all will have different types of ways that we can kind of get prepared. But a great example, I had a sticker sheet that was in my planner. Whether I had anything else for my planner, I knew that I could get those sticker sheets done. So I would print and cut the sticker sheets weeks before my planner was even ready to launch. And that kind of stuff will really help you to get ready, and it'll make it less overwhelming so that you can deliver to customers on time, earlier than the time you promised them, or whatever the case may be, when you already have things ready to go. You know, you got your station ready to create your planners, your journals, different things like that. It's just important to set yourself up for success. And so that was my last tip. I hope that you guys enjoyed this video. The biggest thing I'll just say with all of this is I know that it can be a lot, and I know you want it to go well. So really take the time to sit down and plan out a thoughtful launch strategy now, you know, especially while your mind might be clear before you might start getting involved with just all of the hustle and bustle of the holiday season and life and trying to get the planner made and all of those different things. Take a moment to sit down and think about some of these things I talked about on this video. How can you bring your audience along? How can you educate them about this product? How can you get them on your email list? You know, think about all of those ways. And one thing I've seen, this is, I don't know the exact place where I've seen it from because I've been in so many different business programs at this point, but basically it takes about 7 interactions for someone to know whether or not they want to purchase from you. And so when you are sitting down and you're thinking about this launch, really think about like, how are the different ways you can show up? You know, if you're on social media, your email list, you go live, you know, have it on your website. Like you want to come up with different ways that people will see it, so then you know that you're covering all your bases. And also remember that just because you talk about something once is not enough. Between these algorithms, between people being busy and just different things like that, you have to constantly keep showing up day after day to remind people like, hey, this is here, because people forget. And so if you ever feel like, oh my gosh, you know, this is going horribly, don't give up. Really look and be honest with yourself. You know, like how often have you been talking about the product? How often have you been giving your audience value? Which we didn't even get into that, but you know, what are some different topics that you are bringing to your audience that are valuable to them, that are really kind of getting them in touch with your brand and different things like that? Really look at that and start to kind of assess your overall launch strategy. Go back to the drawing board if you need to, and figure out ways that you can really start showing up. And the biggest and last thing that I will say is just remember that it is about the sale, but it's not always about the sale. So even though you know your end goal is that you do want people to purchase your planner or your journal, you have to keep in mind that, again, this is a relationship and people need to learn a little bit more about who you are. So always lead with value, always lead with things that they're going to want to hear about, motivational things, affirmations, tips, life hacks, you know, things that are specific to your audience and your niche, and things that are going to kind of help them. Like I said, those quick wins, those are going to be the things that start to build the relationship up a lot quicker than you being like, hey, my planner is available for sale. Hey, here's a coupon code, come purchase. Those things can be splashed in as well, but just keep that in mind when you're planning that out. And so again, I hope this video was helpful to you. Let me know down below in the comments. If you are even still watching, please let me know if you are ready for your launch after watching this. What are some questions you guys have? I would love to chat with you all in the comments. And honestly, I just want to say, I wish you nothing but the best with your planner launch, your journal launch. I know that it is going to go amazing. This has been so fun to just share some of these tips with you, and I'm really excited to bring you guys along for my own planner launch, which is going to be happening here very, very soon. But yeah, so that's pretty much all I got for you. Make sure you check down all the links down below if you're interested in working with me, getting resources, getting more free tips and things like that. All that stuff is down below for you guys. And yeah, I'll see you in the next video. Bye.